It is 40,000 years ago. You are a saber-toothed cat, a finely tuned biological killing machine, and you have spotted a hairless bipedal ape. By all known laws of nature, this soft, fleshy creature should be a snack. But instead of running, it stands entirely upright, stares directly into your soul, and picks up a rock. What exactly do wild animals see when they look at us? The answer involves an ancient misunderstanding that explains why bears are instinctively terrified of accountants in hiking boots. This is the story of how humanity became the animal kingdom's sleep paralysis demon. To understand how wildlife views humans, you first have to realize how utterly absurd we look compared to the rest of the terrestrial food chain. If you were to submit the blueprint of a human to an evolutionary committee, it would be rejected for being a walking liability. We have no armor, no camouflage, and skin so pathetic it gets damaged by standing in the sun for too long. We lack claws, our teeth are flat and practically decorative, and our primary defense mechanism is shouting and throwing things. We are just large, anxiety-ridden meat sacks balancing precariously on two sticks. From the perspective of a logical predator, a solitary human is a highly convenient, slow-moving buffet. Yet, in the modern wild, almost every animal on Earth, from wolves to mountain lions to great white sharks, goes out of its way to avoid us. If a mountain lion spots you on a trail, its first instinct is usually not to calculate your caloric value, but to hide in the brush and pray you don't notice it. This makes no sense until you realize that animals do not see a fragile, hairless ape. They see an eldritch horror that broke all the rules of biology. Nature spent millions of years establishing a very clear set of rules. The fast things eat the slow things, the big things eat the small things, and everything respects the things with sharp teeth. Then we showed up, ignored the rules completely, and started bending the environment to our will. The terror we inspire begins with our posture. In the animal kingdom, exposing your soft underbelly is the universal sign of surrender. It is what a dog does when it wants to apologize for chewing your shoes. But humans walk around permanently, exposing our most vital organs to the world. To a wild animal, this is an act of sheer unfathomable arrogance. By standing on two legs, we artificially inflate our size, transforming from a medium-sized mammal into a towering 2-meter-tall monolith. We don't skulk in the grass, we don't crouch, we just shamble forward, fully exposed, acting like we own the place. Coupled with our posture is our face. We have front-facing eyes, which is nature's universal billboard for signaling that we are predators, currently triangulating the distance to a jugular. But unlike a leopard or a wolf, we don't break eye contact. We just stand there, staring, displaying the whites of our eyes, tracking movement with a cold, calculated intensity. We like to think we conquered the food chain through pure intellect, but half of early survival was just standing up tall, making aggressive eye contact, and being too stubborn to leave. When a herd of herbivores sees a human, they are not processing a physical threat. They are processing the unnerving reality of a creature that moves loudly, smells intensely of sweat, and looks at them not with hunger, but with terrifying, methodical calculation. But the real reason animals view us as nightmare fuel comes down to how we hunt. Predators in the wild rely on stealth and explosive speed. A cheetah sprints, a lion ambushes, a crocodile lunges. It is a high-stakes gamble that is usually over in 30 seconds. If the prey survives the initial burst, the predator gives up, exhausted, and goes back to sleep. This is the social contract of the wild. Humans did not sign this contract. Humans invented persistence hunting. Imagine being a prehistoric antelope. You are grazing peacefully when a hairless ape spots you. You do what you do best. You sprint away at 50 miles per hour. You run for 2 miles, you lose the ape, and you go back to eating grass. 30 minutes later, the ape appears over the ridge. It isn't sprinting, it is jogging. You sprint away again, putting 3 miles between you. You rest. An hour later, the ape is there again. It never stops, it never speeds up, it just keeps coming at a highly specific, relentless pace of 4 miles per hour. Apex predators spent 12 million years evolving razor-sharp claws and bone-crushing jaws. Humans responded by inventing throwing rocks and jogging after you until you died of heat stroke. We sweat through our skin, allowing us to cool down while moving, whereas heavily furred animals can only cool down by panting in the shade. The animal cannot rest. The human just drinks water from a gourd and keeps speed walking. Eventually, the animal's biology just gives out. It collapses from hyperthermia. looking up in sheer horror as the sweaty, hairless ape finally catches up, entirely unbothered. To a wild animal, humans are the Terminator. We are an unstoppable, slow-moving force of nature that simply walks you to death. But solving this problem created a completely new, slightly ridiculous psychological glitch, one that you probably experienced the last time you threw a crumpled piece of paper into a trash can and whispered victory to yourself. Once we mastered persistence hunting, we didn't just stop there. We decided that walking things to death was too much effort, so we invented the projectile. Suddenly, the human didn't even need to touch you to kill you. That deeply ingrained urge you have to throw things at targets is the exact evolutionary firmware that made animals think we were magic. To an animal, the concept of a spear or a rock is incomprehensible. 1 second you are 30 feet away from an ape, completely safe by all known animal logic, and the next second a sharp piece of flint is lodged in your ribs. We achieved action at a distance. Then we captured fire. Fire was the universal fear of every living creature on the planet, a force of destruction that animals instinctively flee. Humans just casually picked it up, brought it into their caves, and started using it to cook the animals they had just jogged to death. From the animal's perspective, we had tamed the sun. We became a species that commands the elements, kills invisibly from afar, and refuses to get tired. Over thousands of generations, this unrelenting dominance programmed a deep genetic terror into the wildlife around us. This is why the modern wilderness is shaped by the ecology of fear, and why we are the undisputed epicenter of it. Today, ecologists can play the sound of human voices speaking at normal, conversational volumes in a forest, and entirely disrupt the feeding patterns of apex predators. Mountain lions will abandon their fresh kills. Badgers will flee into their burrows. Even elephants, the living tanks of the savannah, will alter their migration routes just to avoid the sound of human languages. To the natural world, the sound of humans talking is the equivalent of an air raid siren. The irony, of course, is that the vast majority of modern humans couldn't successfully hunt a squirrel in a supermarket. You are sitting in an ergonomic chair, complaining about lower back pain because you slept on a slightly deflated mattress, yet wild wolves still view your silhouette with profound ancestral dread. They do not know that you cry when your Wi-Fi disconnects. They only know the genetic memory of the hairless biped that throws lightning and never sleeps. Your physical presence still broadcasts the legacy of the apex predator, even if your most primal daily activity is aggressively opening a plastic bag of chips. The animal kingdom doesn't fear us because we are the strongest, the fastest, or the most heavily armored. They fear us because we are the biological equivalent of a horror movie monster. We broke the rules of engagement, weaponized our own sweat, and decided that instead of growing claws, we would just become really good at throwing things and walking out of spite. So the next time a bird flies away in a panic when you simply walk out your front door, try not to take it personally. You aren't just a person going to get the mail. To them, you are a two-legged titan of death, a master of fire, and the most unnatural killer this planet has ever produced. You are just executing a 200,000-year-old reputation protocol designed to ensure that absolutely nothing in the woods ever wants to invite you to dinner.